That's right. Welcome into the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, streaming live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. My name is Brandon Baney. Thanks for being with us. Let's meet our North Idaho resident and expert, Ryan Scaggs. What's up, Scaggs?
Not much. Just enjoying another lovely day in North Idaho.
Yes. I noticed you've got your funny coffee mug out again. That's
commonality here. But yeah, I mean it's par for the course living in Idaho, I guess. I mean, like, yeah, kind of everybody does, but
yeah. I feel like I've got my North Idaho style coffee mug as well.
Yeah, so. It's like a his and hers, but except for female elk don't have horns, but yeah.
Yeah, right. Father and child, maybe something like
there
that.
You go.
So, anyways,
you gotta call it something, Brandon.
No, no, not that kind of news. Not that kind of show. No. Too much other news going on. Definitely not. Oh wow, we are off to a rolling start here.
Surprise!
Oh man, we made it not even 90 seconds, and we've already gone off course here, Scaggs. That's par for the course here on the North Idaho Prepcast, though. No doubt about it. Hey, if you're watching live and you've got a question or a comment, you want to be part of the conversation, throw it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen. But otherwise, let's get to it. Let's talk wrestling out of the gates, because we had last week in Lewiston the annual Clearwater Classic, Ryan. This is basically a who's who of North Idaho teams. There were some other teams from outside the area that came, but this was mostly a North Idaho affair. You had the Lewiston girls win their home meet. Coeur d'Alene boys took the title on the other side, but there were good performances up and down the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Vikes looked good in that tournament. It's like, you get back-to-back weeks of kind of true North Idaho tournaments, whether it's a Clearwater Classic down in Lewiston, and then this weekend coming up, we'll obviously break it down with the North Idaho Rumble. But, you talk about a who's who in North Idaho in District 1 and 2 and what shows up. And, glad to see Lewiston getting that tournament, rolling again. That was a tournament that, as, growing up for me, was a huge tournament. It was massive. I mean, it was a regional event, and it kind of went through some pains with going to LCSC. And then when it got bounced from LCSC, it kind of, I don't want to say dissipated for a few years, but it's good to see it up and rolling with a really nice field of contestants that are in the tournament. But great job. I was impressed with the small school guys. Holy cow. They went toe to toe with some of the big dogs, and the smaller teams, the two-way schools, looked awesome this weekend down there in Lewiston.
Yeah, so Coeur d'Alene took first place. Kellogg took second in the team race, and St. Mary's also finished pretty high up the leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, you get two smaller schools in the top four. I mean, that's a very impressive showing by both those programs. And Kellogg has a whole bunch of dudes. Priest Rivers, I mean, you talk about 2A right now. I don't know if necessarily any one of those three teams is going to get a top three finish at state, just because it's kind of like they're going to eat each other at districts trying to get there anyways. But you look at the guys that they're bringing, the ones that come out of that district tournament, I mean, they're going to be, in my mind, battle tested for podium finishes at the state meet. I mean, you got guys, Gibson and Nantel from St. Mary's. You've got guys at Kellogg. You've got McLean Tag up at Priest River. You got the whole host of that crew up there. That 2A wrestling in North Idaho is on fire right now. And, there's a lot to be said. And even some of the smaller schools like the 1As that have a few guys are, carrying the mantle a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, because when you get to state, especially at the 2A, any team that can bring depth in numbers is going to do really well. Ryrie over the last couple of years has been that program at 2A, and Malad is kind of looking the big favorite this year in 2A wrestling. I'm just worried that these teams from the north are also good, especially that top three you mentioned with Kellogg, St. Mary's, and Priest River. I'm worried that they're all just going to kind of eat at each other, and nobody
cannibalize themselves.
Yeah. There's going to be good individuals, but maybe not enough to make a factor in the team race. We'll have to wait and see.
We will probably see more podium finishes, though, from North Idaho in the 2A tournament than we've seen in a long time. That's the one thing. I mean, the strength overall if you look at it as the group from the District 1 and 2, I think it's maybe the strongest field we've seen in maybe a good 10 years from North Idaho. So, there's a lot to be said about that, but I don't know any one team that's going to show up with, 10, 11 kids that, from North Idaho. That's going to be a really tough task coming out of that district tournament.
Yeah. And then at the other end, on our Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast, it's our standalone wrestling show we do every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. I heard an Orofino fan say earlier this year that, hey, Orofino's got one wrestler, small but mighty, competing out there, and we hope the numbers for Orofino can get back up and running too.
Yeah, that was a program that I remember growing up. They had 100 kids in their little guy program, when I was younger, and that's just, the wrestling community, and there's some history in that town with the sport of wrestling, and it's kind of a bummer to see it just dwindle down to a single kid, burying the Maniac flag down there. But I hope things turn around in that community and in the Clearwater Valley in general, whether you go Orofino or Kamiah and Kuski up the river through there. There's it used to be a hotbed for wrestling. I mean, you saw, national runners up come out of Kamiah, and Clayton Foster, who wrestled at Wyoming or Oklahoma State, sorry. And so he's coaching now at Wyoming. But that's there's always been good guys that come out of that area. So, hopefully that turns around and brings a bright spot for, some of those younger kids in the state that can see that, I can be at a little school and still do big things too, which is cool to see.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to see how it all shakes out at the 2A ranks. And then that leads into this weekend, Ryan, the big event, North Idaho Rumble, coming up to North Idaho. It's going to take over the North, and there's a lot of teams traveling from the South. Pocatello's coming up. American Falls is coming from East Idaho. You've got Rocky Mountain coming from the Treasure Valley. There's going to be some really good competition this weekend at the North Idaho Rumble.
Yeah, it's going to be a great event. It's been one of those tournaments that's been steadily growing, and Coeur d'Alene, does a phenomenal job with that tournament. And, to have the two facilities, I mean, it's one thing having one really nice gym, but you have two really nice gyms, definitely helps you grow things. And, they do a great job there. Coach Moffitt does an awesome job with that team and putting that event together. And it's going to be great to see, it's becoming one of the marquee tournaments, especially late season tournaments in the state. And it's been steadily getting better and growing. I mean, you've seen American Falls coming up year after year. You've seen Mountain Home that's been up here making the trip. And now you're getting some East Idaho teams to join the fray. It's going to be a great scrap there. That finals round is going to be phenomenal coming up on Saturday.
It's going to be really fun to watch. Yeah. No doubt about it. And we'll break it all down for you again next week here on the North Idaho Prepcast.
Yeah. And speaking of Coeur d'Alene wrestling, there was a great article, if you get a chance to go read it, in the Coeur d'Alene Press about the enrollment changes in the state of Idaho. And they had a great interview with Coach Moffitt from Coeur d'Alene, talking about how that 5A league that's going to be 6A next year is going to be a single bid conference. And the years of taking 22 kids to state's going to be bygone era now, and that's kind of an unfortunate thing. But if you get a chance to go read that article in the Coeur d'Alene Press, I'll give the dudes down there, they do such a great job. I'm going to give them a shout out. If you get a chance to go read that online, go do that. Yes,
they did a great job of reaching out to Coeur d'Alene and Lake City both, and getting their perspective on it. And this is something we can explore more in the off season. But with this new system where schools can petition up or down in individual sports, obviously Lewiston is moving down in everything, but in soccer, Post Falls is going to move down in both boys and girls soccer. So you're talking about Coeur d'Alene and Lake City being a 2-team district, both capable of going to state, but only one will get the chance. And man, it is tough for sure.
I mean, it makes the case for expansion. That's another Prepcast for another time. But I mean, if we're going to do the petition stuff, I think we have to bring in the expansion along with it too.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, we're going to talk more about the expanded state tournaments and who might get squeezed out in boys basketball. And we'll go right to the 1A D1 White Pine League, Scaggs, where obviously the big story is Case Why Not. But when we did the Prepcast last week, we said, okay, Case Why Not is 76 points away from that all-time scoring record for a career in the state of Idaho, held by Cami's Jared Mercer. Then they went out and played Genesee on Friday night, and all Case did was score 68 points, which
that's in a triple double. Like
he's had 5 triple doubles in a row. I mean, I'm running
and
out.
How do you want him to look too? Because he's had one that's like 20 points, 17 boards, 11 assists, something like that. And then, so he's just filling the stat sheet, and it's not and then he goes off for 68 a night, 2 nights later. So Case, he's just a generational talent. He set the single game scoring record in that game, if I'm not mistaken, in the state of Idaho in that 68-point game. Saying like, oh, I'm going to try to get the record all in one shot. And he ended up, 6 points shy. So he'll probably set the record somewhere around the 106 mark in the Clearwater Valley game.
On the season, Case is averaging 37.1 points per game, 14.6 rebounds per game, 9.1 assists per game. So he's almost averaging a triple double on the season. And then
his steals are crazy high too.
3.3 steals per game, 3.1 blocks per game.
Yeah. And it's not uncommon for him to get double digit in either the block or the steal column. Like that's the thing that just is such a bonkers stat for him.
Yeah, it is truly amazing. I hope people really understand what's happening here. This is sort of kind of a transcendent talent that the state of Idaho, it'll be a long time before we see a player of Case's abilities and impact the way he just impacts every facet of the game. It's just been really fun to watch. And so tomorrow night, Thursday night, Lapwai hosts Clearwater Valley in another White Pine League showdown. Case Wynot only 6 points away from breaking that all-time scoring record. We will be broadcasting that game on IdahoSports.com. So this is your chance to tune in to Idaho basketball history live and free. Doesn't cost you a cent to tune in and watch this game. Logan Green will be on the call. It's going to be a really fun atmosphere, of course. I asked way back when we jumped the gun on this thing. I asked, what are you planning for this, accomplishment? I asked Coach Eastman that from Lapwai, and he said, when it happens, we'll probably just take a timeout, let the crowd kind of acknowledge for a second, and then we'll get back to playing basketball. And then maybe later in the season, we'll do a ceremony and that type of thing. So
hang the jersey from the rafters, you mean? You kind of have to, right? I mean, right. I know they're a humble program, but I mean, come on.
Yeah. So the big celebration will be later in the year. But in terms of the actual moment, 6 points, the way Lapwai runs offense, that could happen like from quick. The tip. So you're gonna want to tune in right at the start on Thursday.
And then hey, once he sets the record, you can always flip over to our game too.
You could, or you could also stick and watch Lapwai because it's a really fun team. It's not just Case Wynot.
It's a great game. They're so fun to watch, and the way they're so dynamic offensively. I think the thing that gets missed a little bit with that team too is the fact that they play defense so well and very unselfish in the passing game. They're a really, really interesting team because they're so unique in how they play to where they fit their cast that's on the floor. So they can look multiple depending who's out there. They can light it up from beyond the arc, or they can go bang it against the boards, just depending who's out on the floor for them.
Yeah, Elias Yearout's been banged up recently, but they've got Chris Bonney inside. That's my favorite player on that Lapwai team. Like, Case is great, and Elias, I did a post-game interview with Elias after their win over Cami, but Chris Bonney, man, he just does the dirty work inside, and I can really respect that. Joey Payne, I like
Joey Payne a lot. I think he's a great little fill-in that showed up for, you talk about who's going to fill that gap with Terrell Ellenwood Jones graduating, and I think Joseph Payne's done a great job.
That is exactly what he has slid into. That's point guard spot that Terrell Ellenwood Jones used to fill. Joey Payne has slid in, and boy, he can get hot from the 3-point line.
Yeah, he can.
It's a fun team to watch. So if you want to watch this Lapwai team, tune in tomorrow night, and of course, Case's pursuit of the all-time record. I forgot to mention, Ryan, I've got it behind me here. When I was in Lapwai, last week or 2 weeks ago for that Kamei game. Jeremiah, why not? Lapway assistant coach and Case's dad, of course. I'm talking to him before the game. Next thing I know, he's handing me 2 sweatshirts. One for me, one for you, Scaggs.
Oh, look at that. That is awesome. How about that? That's great. Thanks, Coach. That's super cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have no idea how well you can see it, but it's Utah State. And then on the sleeve, he said, of course, we had to give it a little Lapway flavor.
Oh, there we go. There we go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super cool.
So anyways, I took the dark one. You get the light gray, and I'll give it to you tomorrow night when I see you.
Sounds great. That's awesome. Yeah, thanks, Coach. Jeremiah is such a great guy too, and I know that we talk about him a lot on the show, but he does a whole lot, not just for his, like his own kid, but for kids in general in the Lapway community and around the state and district too. Just a great allied athletics in the state of Idaho. So he's just a great guy. So thank you, Jeremiah. That's great.
Yes, and this is all unsolicited, right? We're not in this to try and get swag and stuff. But if you are inclined,
he gave us the Lapway sweatshirts the other too, which was super cool too.
Yes, so, I wear that a lot.
I wear it to the gym all the time, and I get like people giving me double takes. But I run into like some of the Lake City kids once in a while, and they're like, they'll give me the head nod because they know what's up, which is kind of cool. So
that's funny. Yep. So okay, big picture with this White Pine League overall, though. Lapway, of course, 9-0 in league play. 14-2 overall. Potlatch is 9-1 and 13-1. When they played the first time, that was another game we did on IdahoSports.com. It was a close game. I mean, Lapway won by 12, 57-45. Can't wait for that rematch. It comes at the very end of the season, Friday, February 9th in Potlatch. But also in the mix are Kamei and Logos. They're each 5-3 in league play. And so basically there's this 4 at the top. And I would say on a good night, even Troy could be thrown in there too. But the reality is only 2 teams are going to get to go to state out of this district. Kamei, which is currently in 3rd, Ryan, went down last week to Liberty Charter, the first place team from District 3 right now in 1A D1 hoops, in a true road game, non-conference affair, and they won 46-34. So we are showing up here in the north that the White Pine League's 3rd best team, quote unquote, just beat the probable league champ from District 3. And it's just, it sucks that 2 really good teams are going to be left at home.
We talked about it with wrestling with district, 2A up here, but it's, the cannibalization of themselves in the White Pine. I mean, that's just proof how good that conference really is. And you look at how good is that district tournament going to be? Like, I mean, I say Booth Hall, but it's, Lewiston High School's new gymnasium, not Booth Hall, the old one. But, I mean, that place is going to be rocking. Like, that district tournament there in Lewiston is going to be a ton of fun. There's going to be some phenomenal games that take place there. As we get later in the season, we still got a lot of basketball to go ahead of time, but, Logos can throw their hat in the ring any given night. You can talk about, Potlatch and Kamei, I think, is a very intriguing matchup between the 2 of them. And, we saw it last year, Lapway, when they beat Lakeside last year. And when we had that game on Idaho Sports, I was like, hey, keep an eye on this Lakeside team, because I've never seen Lapway be pushed like this. They're going to learn a ton in this game that I think if they face each other in the state tournament, mark my words, there's a puncher's chance. And we saw it, and it happened last year. But, did Kamei learn enough that, like, maybe there's some surprises coming, or did Potlatch learn enough that the surprises are going to come? And, play each other 3 times in the season, stranger things have happened. And that's the thing about this conference. It's so deep. And then you throw in Lakeside and District 1. I mean, there's realistically 4 or 5 teams up here that are all, top 3 contenders in the state.
And really, I lump Lakeside in with these White Pine teams. They all have, if you look at Lakeside, Lapway, Kamei, Potlatch, Troy, Logos, they all have guys at the top, right, that you can point to and say, I need a bucket. All right.
Yep.
It's Stoner for Troy. It's Seamus Wilson for Logos. It is David Clute for Kamei. It's Jackson Vowels for Potlatch. It's Case Why Not for Lapway. And for Lakeside, really lately, it's been Tyson Charlie, but they've got a couple different guys. But
John, you name it. I mean, they've got a number of guys in that lineup. Hendricks. Yeah.
The key is going to be who can get the most out of their bench, because all of these teams, I think, would admit a little bit, hey, when we go to the bench, there is a drop off and we don't quite have that depth. And so to me, that's the number one key, is who can get the absolute most out of those bench players that are coming in. And that will determine a lot as the season goes along, for sure. We've got a couple comments here in the chat. Sean says, hi, Ryan.
What's up, Sean? Yeah. I went to high school with Sean.
Yes. And Jeremiah, we were talking about the sweatshirts he gave us. He said, you're welcome, guys. Yeah, thanks, Jeremiah. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, Sean's daughter, Savannah, graduated from Lewis, and she's playing college ball over in the Portland area right now. So it's another District 2 player that's found success at the next level.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And we're going to have some District 2 basketball coming up that we will talk about here in just a moment. But let's kind of wrap up our boys basketball conversation here. Here's Travis from Sandpoint. Ryan, you were correct for the battle for the paddle last week. We kind of talked about this, where we both thought Sandpoint girls were going to win the girls basketball matchup, and we thought the Lakeland boys would win the boys basketball matchup. And we said it's all going to come down to who wins the wrestling matchup. And we both kind of leaned Lakeland slightly. Turned out to be pretty close, but yeah, Travis admits, Ryan, you were correct on Lakeland beating Sandpoint wrestling. He feels Sandpoint didn't wrestle their best. I'd say they were motivated, because after they dropped the battle for the paddle, they went to Thompson Falls, Montana, and cleaned up at an out-of-state tournament. So.
Yeah, no, I think that, sometimes the best things learned are, things that hurt instruct. So when you lose a tough duel, they showed up the next day at that tournament in Montana and took care of business. So the Bulldogs didn't fall too hard after losing on Battle of Paddle to Lakeland.
Yes. And to me, that was the interesting part, was the wrestling, obviously, but then that boys basketball matchup, kind of a close game, right? 67-58. Lakeland gets the 9-point win. And now we finally get to see them with this rematch with Moscow. They played Moscow the first time all the way back in December. It went to double overtime. Scaggs, they lost 85-82 in 2 OTs. They will make the trip to Moscow on Friday night. Winner of this, if Moscow wins, I mean, they're pretty much in the catbird seat for that number 1 seed in that bye at districts, which is huge. And the home court advantage, which is huge, because they are alone in District 2, which means whoever gets out of Lakeland and Sandpoint has to make that long drive over.
Yeah, no, that's a nice spot to be in if you're the Bears. Getting that clip in that first game, I mean, that makes, even if you do split, I think it goes to overall record, which I still think that they hold the advantage in, as far as in District 1, District 2 IEL play. So, Moscow's got some nice pieces there. That's not going to be an easy game for Lakeland at all. Moscow's got some pieces in that lineup that can, turn it on any given night.
It's going to be a really fun one to watch, for sure. And then also on IdahoSports.com tomorrow night, Scaggs, we've got a girls-boys varsity doubleheader. You and I will be on the call for it from Post Falls High School as Coeur d'Alene comes to town. That'll be really fun. Yeah,
we talked about, we've been talking about boys basketball. That was an 8-point game the last time those two played. Coeur d'Alene won by 8. It wouldn't be surprising to see Post Falls make it close. Post Falls got some really nice pieces in that lineup. They just play hard. They play scrappy. They play good defense. That's one thing I think that kind of goes under the radar with that Post Falls group this year, is they can really play on the defensive end really well. Coeur d'Alene, we know them. They'll play 9-10 guys. I mean, they are deep coming off that bench. So, will it overwhelm Post Falls a little bit that may not have as many pieces coming off the bench? That's going to be, they're going to have to get big minutes from Tyrus, Blake, and Shields. And, that's going to be the test for the Trojans in this ball game.
That's going to be a really fun one for sure. And, Post Falls could really use a win here to get a little separation from Lewiston right now, because Post Falls and Lewiston split with each other. So right now they're essentially tied for second. Post Falls is a half game up in the loss column, but, they've got to play 5-0 Coeur d'Alene tomorrow night. So yeah, girls game will be first at 5:30. Boys game will follow. You can catch both of them tomorrow night on IdahoSports.com as Coeur d'Alene visits Post Falls with me and Scaggs. Who doesn't love that?
A little basketball. We did some football games this year. Now you get us on the hard court, which would be fun. So
that's right. Yeah. All right. Travis wants to know, who wins tonight at the B Cup, Sandpoint or Bonners Ferry? This is wrestling again, but it'll lead into more basketball convo. I like Sandpoint here.
I'm telling you what, the more intriguing matchups though might be on the girls' side. Just saying. But yeah, no, I think I like Sandpoint in this one tonight. Yeah, for the B Cup. That's going to be a fun little event, though. That's turning into a nice little rivalry there.
Yeah. And speaking of rivalries, we had Timberlake and Bonners Ferry. They had the Backwoods Brawl up in Bonners Ferry on Saturday. The games originally were scheduled for a weeknight. The weather came in and postponed it, so they had to have it Saturday morning, which was a little unusual. I think the first game tipped off at 11, which was a little different, and the boys went first. So we'll just talk about the boys game quickly. You know, Bonners Ferry got the win there, not too surprising. And but Timberlake, I think, is not that far away in boys hoops.
No, Timberlake's on they're on their way up. They're climbing the ladder. Like I said, you know, they had a good showing at that tournament with the Spokane teams. They played some tough teams, and they played them tough. So that Timberlake team, they're coming around. You know, they got some nice additions. Obviously, the transfer from Priest River was a nice little add for them to that lineup. But Bonners Ferry right now, I think, is obviously, you know, one of the top 3 teams in North Idaho. I'll release the power rankings, but Bonners Ferry, I mean, they've got a legit chance at 3A again at state. Like, if they can get there and get through district with Timberlake, which will make things tough. That conference, I mean, I wish they had more teams in that league. I really do, because there's a shame that there's some really, we'll talk about on the girls' side too. Both those teams deserve to be in the state tournament this year. But yeah.
It is. It's a bummer. With that said, let's get to your North Idaho 9 for boys basketball. These are the 9 best teams in North Idaho, in Ryan's opinion, regardless of ranking. We will scroll them across the bottom of the screen here for those that are watching, but for those that are listening at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts, Ryan will run through them all 1 through 9. It's your North Idaho 9 for boys hoops.
Yeah, so 1, Coeur d'Alene still, 2, Lapway. They haven't changed. Got a little change at number 3, Bonners Ferry climbing the ladder. Potlatch at 4, Lakeside 5. Lakeside did take a loss to Lake Roosevelt in Washington, which is a very good team. So I don't really fault them with that loss. That's going to teach them a little bit more. 6, Post Falls. 7, Lewiston. 8, Kendrick. And then sneaking in this week at number 9 is Kamei. Post Falls, Lewiston, I mean, they're just trading blows, and Lake City's kind of thrown in that mix too, knocking each other off. And yeah, that's going to be an interesting bid for that second bid, you know, maybe for the play-in game out of the boys' side at 5A.
Who gets it? I don't know. I still kind of lean
Post
Falls, I think, but man, it's a head scratcher for sure.
It's anyone's night. I mean, Lewiston plays so scrappy on defense too. They'll frustrate anyone, but Coach Schmalm does a great job with that group, just getting them to play hard on the defensive end. So, yeah, no, that's my North Idaho 9 for this week on the boys' side.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is the North Idaho Prepcast presented by No Vape Idaho. When we come back, we'll go over to girls hoops and check in. This time next week, Scaggs, we're going to be showing district tournament brackets and stuff for some of these leagues. So it's going to be interesting. The postseason is rapidly approaching here in girls basketball.
Yes, it is.
We'll break down the latest developments right after this word from our sponsors from No Vape Idaho.
It's not like I'm doing drugs.
Nicotine can negatively impact the developing brain and make it more susceptible to other addictive substances. Students that vape are 3 times more likely to start smoking weed. And kids who share vapes can unknowingly inhale other drugs like THC, meth, or fentanyl, causing permanent lung damage, overdose, and even death. Be smart, don't start.
This is the North Idaho Prepcast presented by No Vape Idaho. Did you know, Scaggs, that vaping actually increases your anxiety and stress levels? We think it's a big relaxer, right? Oh my gosh, I'm on the edge. I just need a puff to chill. It actually has the opposite effect. It makes you more stressed out and more nervous.
Yeah, and plus it's just not really accomplishing anything, and it's a giant waste of money. But I mean, that's just my opinion too. But in addition to it being incredibly unhealthy for you, so yeah, that's nobody needs to be more anxious these days. I mean, we deal with enough crap in our lives and in our schedules these days. We don't need to add anything else to the mix that's going to add to that.
Yeah, I didn't even think of the financial component. Yeah, if you're a high school kid who's got that kind of Skrilla,
save the money from vape juice to, like, I don't know, like down payment on a house in the future, or a car or something. I don't know. Invest it.
Hey, you can never start that too early. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right.
If you want more tips, you can type in No Vape Idaho. That's no with a K-N-O-W, No Vape Idaho in your favorite search browser, and you'll find the website from there. All right, girls basketball. I think the biggest story is from this Backwoods Brawl that happened between Timberlake and Bonners Ferry on Saturday. Timberlake won, which I think we both would have said coming in, but I'll tell you what, it is time for us to give some credit to Bonners Ferry under the direction of first-year coach Mike Cowley, because they're 9-5. We haven't said a word about Bonners Ferry's girls basketball team this year, which is a shame because they only fell to Timberlake by 5, 66-61.
Yeah, they're very quietly flying under the radar with a very nice lineup. I mean, they've got some nice pieces out there on the floor, very athletic. That, you know, you just want to get we talk about on the football field a lot about getting your athletes in space. Well, they do spacing on the floor really well. And, you know, for their girls team, getting, you know, their athletes the ability to transition buckets, things like that. They play really good defense too. And, you know, this is a team that very quietly has been having a heck of a season with a fairly difficult schedule. So, you know, we talk about expanding and with leagues shrinking and all that stuff. I wish to death right now that there was a 12-team state tournament on the girls' side, probably this year more than most years, just because this team right here, you know, depending on how things shake out towards the end of the year, they very well deserve to be playing, you know, down in Southern Idaho at the end of the season.
Yeah, Bonners Ferry is a team that has really good post play, right, with Markin Pluid and Aisha Abubakari, one of our favorites here on the Prepcast. And then that's complemented by a really dynamic freshman point guard in Taryn Bateman, and she has been lighting it up recently.
Yeah, Bateman, shocking, you know, having a great athletic career, like bursting onto the scene. Where have we seen them before? I don't know, but I feel like we've been calling Aisha's name for like 7 years now, but it's just, you know, that's just a testament to how good of an athlete she's been since she came onto the scene as a freshman. So it's kind of cool to see these kids grow up and have the career arc that they've had. And this Bonners team, like I said, I mean, I'm singing their praises, and you'll see it here at the end of the Prepcast, but you know, they've earned everything that they're getting right now. And, you know, even in a loss, I know that we've talked about them more than Timberlake won that game, but I think that's just the playing field leveling and the level that this team's kind of elevated itself to.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how the rematch goes. We talk about Aisha Abubakari all the time because she does great in track and field. She's a great thrower. And then in the fall, she has played both volleyball and soccer throughout her career. So she's done it all in her time at Bonners Ferry. So, but yes, on the other side, Timberlake is the team that won. They're 12-3. And Matt Miller is such a great coach. I know adjustments will be made in the rematch. That will come tonight. We're recording this on Wednesday, January 24th. They meet tonight at Timberlake. I would expect another Tigers win, and maybe by a larger margin this time, because Coach Miller does such a great job with adjusting after games.
You know, and it wouldn't surprise me to see like Bonners Ferry come in with a little bit more confidence, and maybe it wouldn't surprise me to see this go to OT. Even though I know Timberlake's got a great lineup, and that's not me slighting the Tigers in the least, I think both these teams just come out guns blazing, and they're two very talented groups. And, you know, you get a game like that, I wouldn't be surprised one bit to see this thing maybe go an extra frame at the end. But I ultimately think Timberlake will win the game. Just because I like a lot of the leadership within the team as well. I think there's a little bit more experience on the floor for Timberlake, but two extremely talented programs.
Okay, see, I think it's going to go the other way. I think Timberlake gets a little more breathing room here, but we'll see which one of us was right. You know, when we come back next week.
Maybe it's a 20-point game and I look like a dunce, but yeah.
It's not often that we disagree. So I'm gonna relish this opportunity. Okay, let's wrap up with this, Scaggs, because it's a busy week of broadcasts here for North Idaho Game Night on IdahoSports.com. Thursday night, we've got the Coeur d'Alene Post Falls girls boys doubleheader starting at 5:30. We have Lapway's boys basketball game against Clearwater Valley starting roughly at 7. And then Friday, we are going to be at Lewis and Clark State College in Lewiston for the Golden Throne, baby. I am excited for this. It is Clarkston. It is Lewiston. It's going to be a packed house. Girls, boys doubleheader starting at 6 o'clock tomorrow night or on Friday night on IdahoSports.com.
Yeah, that's that Golden Throne game. I mean, having been a student at Clarkston High School and I remember the days where it traded off being in each other's gyms and, those days of it. And ever since they moved it to LCSC at the P1FCU Activity Center there, that is an absolutely raucous place. That place is crazy and it's packed out. I mean, you got 5,500 people in there. The red and black of Clarkston, the purple and gold of Lewiston, and just a ton of fun. That's a really, really great atmosphere for a high school event. And, they do it right there inside the activity center, and the halftime entertainment's great. I think you get like dance contests from the teachers and some other stuff too. I mean, it's an awesome event.
Yep. For sure. And I guess I'm looking here. We always have to ask the schools participating for permission to broadcast. And I don't see that we've gotten the official clearance yet. So, hey, if you are a Lewiston administrator or maybe Shannon Wilson from Clarkston, if you're looking at this, watching this,
I'm texting Shannon right now.
just give us the green light. I mean, we went and covered, the Avista tournament at LCSC. So I don't see why Golden Throne would be a problem. But anyways, the plan is to broadcast the Golden Throne games on Friday night. So that'll be a lot of fun. And that Clarkston girls team, if you're somebody who really only follows Idaho stuff and you're not really up to date on what's going on in Washington, there's going to be a couple of names you recognize. Jordan McCormick Marks, Jalen McCormick Marks, former Lapway standouts, now playing for Clarkston.
Yeah. No, those, and Debbie Sabota's team, we saw them in the championship game at the Avista tournament taking on Grangeville, and they absolutely dismantled that Bulldog team. That's a very, very good team. This Clarkston girls team is their special unit. I mean, they've had some state championship teams in the last 10 years, but this group, the one thing that shocked me with that team is how deep it is. Like, that Clarkston team is crazy deep. The boys game is going to be a great, I think, back and forth affair. Clarkston can score on the offensive end. They've got some nice size inside, some nice pieces. Lewiston plays great defense. They've got, guys that can go double figures on the offensive end as well. So I think you're in for a couple of really, really good ball games in that Golden Throne game. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Yep. That'll be Friday night starting at 6 on IdahoSports.com. All right, let's wrap up with your North Idaho 9 girls basketball rankings here, Ryan. These are the 9 best teams, in your opinion, in North Idaho. Doesn't matter the classification size. Here they are, 1 through 9.
So number 1 hasn't changed. Lake City's still sitting on top. The T-Wolves are just a dominating force right now. 2, Coeur d'Alene. 3, Sandpoint. I mean, you got defending state champs at 2 and 3. It's just kind of bonkers to me. Grangeville at 4, Timberlake at 5. This is where it starts to shake up a little bit. Kendrick climbing the ladder. They're at 6. Prairie is in at 7 this week after defeating Lapway, who comes in at number 8. And then at number 9, making their first entrance of the season, Bonners Ferry enters the picture in the power rankings this week at number 9. So that is this week's North Idaho 9 power rankings.
All right. It's going to be a lot of fun. Girls basketball is heading towards the finish line. District tournament action around the state starts next week, believe it or not. And we will once again have all the district tournament brackets, not just for North Idaho, but all the districts around the state. So you can follow who is clinching their bids.
So I'm going to ask this question before we break, though, as we kind of prognosticate state tournament stuff.
Okay.
Which district in the state do you think has the best chance to be represented in all 6 classifications, or district or regions?
I guess I don't understand your question. Everybody, it's equal.
Lake City or Coeur d'Alene in 5A. You've got Sandpoint that's got a great chance in 4A.
Are you talking about championships?
I'm talking about championships. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like who's going to get to state. I was like,
no. I'm like
that's the whole point. Every district.
I'm thinking District 1, District 2 has got a great chance this year of being in every single state championship game.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, are we talking just girls?
Yeah, just girls.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Lake City, Coeur d'Alene, 5A, yes. Sandpoint, 4A, yes. Timberlake, 3A, yes. And all of these teams were in the championship games last year, by the way.
Grangeville, 2A.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Great shot. 1A D1, Lapway, Prairie, Lakeside,
Wallace
maybe.
I mean, you got who name
Wallace.
it. Like, yeah. There's teams out there. Cami Sneaky out there too, but I think Prairie or Lapway could very well be there too.
And then I think Kendrick, right, from District 2, 182,
yeah.
or Deary, right?
Yeah.
Kendrick and Deary were so close the first time they played. It was a 2-point win for Kendrick. And so everybody is sleeping on Deary. I'm telling you that right now. And the rematch comes really soon, Ryan. The rematch is going to be tomorrow night in Kendrick. So
I'm telling you, it's something to keep an eye on. That, like, realistically, if we're looking way down the road, I mean, a lot can happen, obviously, but I mean, of all the districts or areas that have chances, I mean, North Idaho's got a great chance to do something crazy.
Yes, because you think about it, Treasure Valley has, obviously 5A, Boise, Juggernaut, and 4A, 3A, but they really struggle at those 1As. Boise does, especially 1A D1. If we're being honest, I don't see a Boise team making any noise from 1A D1. Magic Valley is in a similar boat where they don't even have a 5A team, so they're already out automatically. And then East Idaho.
Rigby and girls at 5A, maybe. I mean, they're kind of there, but I don't know if they're going to be a title team.
Shelly girls, Snake River. I don't know if a 2A is going to be there. Soda Springs may. Here's what I'll say: it's going to come down to North Idaho and East Idaho. It's going to be the battle. So we'll keep a tally of it.
It's something I've been thinking about this, and I'm like, man, how crazy would that be? That'd be a fun championship Saturday. That would be pretty awesome for District 1 and District 2. But like I said, a lot can happen before then. So it's just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Only thing it would be better is if the games were a little closer to home. But maybe in the future. We can...
Selfishly, yes, I would like that a lot. So I'm sure the kids would too.
Yes, definitely. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to the North Idaho Prepcast. Enjoy the competition this weekend. Travel safely. My wife was leaving for work this morning, and it's slick out there. Somebody almost sideswiped her. Jeez, I'm losing my ability to talk. Yeah, this is gnarly.
More coffee. It's Wednesday. We need to get over the hump. Yeah, got a busy week ahead of us.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. You can always check the game streams tab at the top of the homepage at IdahoSports.com for a list of all the games that we're going to be broadcasting. But until then, for Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning into the North Idaho Prepcast presented by No Vape Idaho on IdahoSports.com.